Okay, everybody, welcome to White Line Fever Kicks. Is this the first one we did this year? Maybe we did one in January, so apologies for the last couple of weeks. Some of it was, I was involved in travel. I was coming back from the homeland of our next guest, the new chairman of Rugby League Ireland, Jim Reynolds. Hello, Jim.
Hey, how are you doing, Steve?
I'm good. Thanks very much for coming on. Now, this is one of those ones where I'm not going to have to ask many questions because I guess to some people we're introducing you because they might have seen a picture of you or a story about you, but they don't know much about you. But I will start with one question, the good one. Is it true you are related to the South Sydney halfback, Adam Reynolds?
I wish I was. I probably would, just having the same surname, we probably are pretty much. I do have cousins, Reynolds is there down Coogee Beach and around there, and I've met Adam a few times. A really, really nice guy. But no, I don't think we're terribly related. But I leave it blank anyway. I'm a big fan of his anyway.
Yeah, if you go back far enough, you probably are. So I guess as I said, that's the only.
Oh, indeed, of course.
If you that's the only tricky question I've got. What's the story? How did you come to be involved in rugby league? I hear that you didn't come from another sport. You're a dyed-in-the-wool, rugby league person. How did you come to have this role?
Not a direct route at all. Basically, I have been a fan of rugby league since I've been a kid. My late father was, and we used to watch it. It used to get a lot more coverage on BBC. It was on sort of every Saturday and that. And so I'm showing my age, but the days of Eddie Waring and all that was good. So anytime rugby league would be on TV, I definitely would be watching it. I just, as a kid, it's just a very exciting form of sport. At that time, rugby union was amateur, even at the international level. And and those were muddy and slow games, so it wasn't the greatest spectacle in the world. Whereas league was, the likes of Martin Ofaya and that kind of stuff would just light up the TV in a few seconds. So it was a bit more attractive. I liked soccer as well in that, but unfortunately, you never got the opportunity to play league. It just wasn't played in Ireland at the time at all. But how I got this role, with the three boys here in Galway, and my eldest guy, I'll go back a bit. We were living abroad for about 20 years, so I'm back in Ireland about 5-6 years, and he always was, liked the idea of rugby and that. So, but we were living in Bulgaria at the time, so not a lot of rugby there at all, bar the sort of international team and pub team. So I wasn't going to put my 12 or 13-year-old playing with some lads from pubs. But as soon as we got here to Galway, where my wife is from, he joined up with Galwegians, the local union side. And really, after we were only here about 2 years, I just saw something on Facebook from the Galway Tribesmen rugby league side saying they were looking for young lads to join. They were hoping to get an under-19s team together. So I showed it to James, and he said, "Okay, well, go along." And about 4 or 5 lads turned up, and it kind of ended up that they just couldn't get enough to get a team together. But James really liked the training and all that, and over in Australia, I had brought him to a couple of rugby league games, like the Doggies against the Rabbitohs and that kind of stuff. So he had some exposure to the game, and he asked, would it be okay if he continued training? So his big thing was to keep fit during the summer kind of stuff, and so they said yeah, and he was kind of holding his own with the lads there. So the following season, he was only dying to get back into league, and kind of really it's a case of, whereas before it was like the summertime league to keep fit for union, it's kind of twisted about a bit now, but and really I was just I suppose my face was becoming familiar being on the sidelines, and James got to trials for the Ireland under-19s team when he was 17, and he got on. So I got to know a few of the senior coaches and that, and really that was it. I mean, I wasn't involved in any admin or anything like that, except for locally here with the tribesmen. I volunteered to be sort of a chairman as such, but not a lot of activity to do with it. But anyway, the AGM for Rugby League Ireland was coming up there last December, and I think they were kind of thinking, look, we need somebody who's got a bit of maybe chair experience, which I had at various companies around the world, some business experience, and somebody that would sort of be seen to be objective and neutral, if you like, not particularly affiliated with any one club, although the tribesmen was obviously, I would say, would be our home side. And so, I said, okay, put my name down. Before that, I wanted to really find out, I mean, how much time commitment was involved. And they were very honest, and they said, look, there's a lot to be done. We've a lot on our plate. There's a lot of stuff from Sport Ireland, as all NGBs have to comply with. And there's a big thing for the end of 2021 on like things around governance and all that kind of stuff. The things that are, all the off-field stuff that's pretty boring, but it's really necessary. And they said, look, this is going to take at least 20 to 30 hours a week for at least the first 3 months. So happy enough, I'm sort of semi-retired. So I said, yeah, okay, that's great. That's a nice, I have a hole there to fill. And so I've really thrown myself 100% into it. And so it's like fundamentally it's a game I really love. I've got the added interest. Obviously, my son is very involved. But there's like just a great bunch of people. I like all sports, but league is just great. The volunteers that just do a lot and then more again and more again. So I was very, very happy to do it, and I'm having a bit of fun. It is a lot of work, but it's I'm having fun doing it.
Can you paint us a picture of the environment that you've entered? Because like a lot of Irish organisations, it seems to be quite factional. There's some very strong views and various power bases from what I can gather. And you can tell that I've spent a bit of time there because, my wife's Irish and stuff. So what were those sort of challenges like that you took on? I mean, a couple of years ago, there was a bit of publicity about how many expat players should we have in our team? You know what I mean? And all that sort of stuff. So these sort of emotional issues. How can you talk us through that?
Well, maybe that's the stuff you allude to is probably one of the reasons I was approached. Would I be interested? And there was another guy as well was interested in doing it, but I ended up winning the vote. But maybe it's I should backtrack a bit. I mean, I said to everybody involved that I didn't have a huge amount of interest in going over like what's happened in the past and all those kind of things. And if you look at the organisation, it was run by volunteers who are from the clubs. And being from the clubs, obviously, their main interest is their club, and it's very hard to leave the cap or the shirt of your club at the door as when you walk into the boardroom. And I think perhaps there's been a bit of that. Being volunteers as well. I mean, these guys or ladies have been, got a day job and then having to do a couple of hours here and there to try and keep the organisation going and keep it organised. Primarily, people would be involved and focused on the day-to-day, organising fixtures and replays and all those kind of things. So when it came to particularly the likes of Sport Ireland sort of saying, guys, you need a proper constitution, you need this, you need that. There was, I think, a lot of pressure went on the last board and even the one prior. So in those kind of situations when people are starving of time, they are strong personalities, and as in any sport, it tends to be the strong personalities get their voices heard and stuff. So it would be wrong to kind of colour it that it was like a sport that was tearing itself apart or anything like that. It was far, far from it. And to answer your question as like how have I dealt with it, to be honest with you, I really haven't had to deal with it because we've a big agenda of things to do. We've got those marked out, and I have not, hand on heart, have not come across any kind of push or pull from different people. The first thing I did do was to phone everybody who had been on boards or were involved in different ways. The head of the match officials, etc., and really sort of laid out who I was because, as you said at the beginning, maybe a lot of people don't know who I am, but I put in like what's my experience, and so my experience in business and that has been very much going into situations that were not ideal. My last stint was in Eastern Europe. Trying to modernize what was the last phone company to be privatized. And the first thing we had, obviously the investors were American investors, and they wanted everything done in the first 3 months. And we inherited 23,000 people, and we only needed 2.5. So you can imagine the amount of push me, pull you, and things you have to do to try and get people to believe in you and understand you and stuff. So maybe I'm not trying to make light of it or anything like that, but I think when you've got a task to do and you point out what those tasks are, there's nobody who's trying to swim in the different direction here. Everybody wants the same things at the end of the day. Number one is we want success on the field, and people involved can see that in order to do that, there's a lot of off-field stuff that needs to get done as well, and that's basically what we're at. That's when you're busy, you don't have a lot of time to be thinking about things that are not really conducive to progress. Really,
there's a World Cup, or we still think there is at the end of this year. How far advanced are you in planning for that? As far as I believe, the coaching appointments are finalised, are they, or they have been announced? They're final for this year.
Oh yeah. They have been for a year.
Yeah. So the selection policy is that crosses your desk? Does the selection policy cross your desk, or is that down to the coaches? Or
the selection is down to the coaches. And I haven't brought in any agenda or anything like that. I have been involved in some other sports many years ago, kind of stuff, and I quickly learned that if coaches live or die by what their on-field results are, they have to be the people who are making the selections. And I haven't seen any issues at all yet. The coaching team is there. They have been very, very busy. I must say the Rugby League World Cup 2021 grouping, they're extremely helpful. Really an absolute pleasure to deal with. We've got our own personal portals and all that kind of stuff that makes the whole planning thing very, very easy. So we have all our plans laid out. We've just signed off, and the kit design and all that kind of stuff has got approval for. So the pathway to playing the first game is very well set out, very well planned, and has been in train for quite a while already. Now, as regards the who's going to be on the pitch, the coaches have a pretty good idea, I think. They haven't shared anything with me, and at this point in time, that's their concern. Obviously, things can change as regards guys getting injured, etc. So there are some guys who are being targeted, obviously, to try and attract them onto the team, and we are also looking at the guys domestically here as well. We've already had some of the qualifying games at the end of last season, which got us here to qualify for the World Cup. As regards I presume you want an answer to the question as regards the thorny one, which every sport has, about Do you have quotas for domestic players, etc., etc., etc.? I mean, that'll be a perennial thing. I put my flag up right now. I do not believe in quotas. And speaking to some players and that, and they're very much of the opinion. Listen, I want to be on that team because I want to wear that green shirt because I'm worth it. I got myself there on merit. And for me, that really fits into the whole ethos of rugby league itself, where rugby league came from and what rugby league is. Wherever it's been, I've worked and lived in Australia, in Northern England as well. So I understand the culture and really appreciate it and really like it as well. Funny enough, rugby league seems to thrive in communities where plain speaking is appreciated rather than being too political. Mm. So I'm not going to be political about it, if you like. The rugby league is, as I said, it's always been based on, like, it doesn't matter who your father is or what school you went to. You're there because you're the best for that shirt. Mm. And I think the guys who take the field, hopefully in October, November, I mean, every single one of them will be as proud as anything to put that green shirt on, and irrespective of where they come from. Obviously, we want to develop the domestic league here ourselves. We want to bring on players and get them there. And I mean, you know the great story of Ronan Michael and that, and I know Ronan's probably sick and tired of his name being bandied about, but he's the guy at the moment. He's the story, and he's the one that we want to emulate across the playing groups that we're bringing on. We've had record numbers of like under 16s and coming on to under 19s now as well. 2019 was just a fantastic season for both of those groups out of the blue. The first time an Ireland under 16s team beat an international crowd, which was Scotland, and the same with the under 19s as well. Funny enough, poor Scotland as well that they beat. But anyway, and that's the way forward. I had a meeting with all the national coaches, including the Stuart Litter and Jed for the World Cup team, and they are working as a group. And we had that meeting last Saturday night, and this is the commitment from these guys. We were supposed to just have a quick kind of talk, but that went on for hours and hours. And out of that came, I must say, it was one of the most positive meetings I've ever attended, whether in business or whatever. It was really exciting, and the feeling afterwards was exciting and very positive stuff. The stuff that these guys want to do for the young guys in the domestic league here, as regards bringing on, like, having a proper under 16s league and the competitions for them, and the under 19s. But now we've got an under 20s because of, you're probably well aware, the last year's under 19s European Championship was postponed to the end of this year, and the RLAF and their wisdom have made it an under 20s competition, which I think was a great idea, because give those bunch of lads still the opportunity to put on the green shirt. And those guys, with the COVID, we haven't been able to train. We tried to get a few kind of training matches and training things before Christmas. Twice we actually had two arranged, and really at the 11th hour they had to be cancelled, which was a real kick in the teeth for them. So our main focus last Saturday evening was to how are we going to be able to almost like re-engage with those guys, and also give them something, show them that we're wanting to invest in them as regards their own personal training, because still for a while here in Ireland we are going to have to, guys are just going to have to train on their own. Certainly looks to probably be to the end of March now. So we really want to do that. So we've already got something in play. I can actually share it with you once we have it done. I prefer to under promise and over deliver. So, but we've got a particular plan in place for them, and it's something it's not just for them. It'll roll out to the under-16s and to the what we call our clubs, our domestic clubs team as well. And basically, it's for all clubs within Ireland playing within the island of Ireland to get their players on there, and it'll be a way of them being identified that they wish to go on, and that their coaches can sponsor them as being, as they say, of good potential, and then be invited for trials, and if they get through that, then they really are into. We are putting in place quite a comprehensive support structure, right down to personal videos being reviewed with proper, S&C coaches as like Olympic standard S&C coaches and that. So, so the future for us is the following World Cup. We really would like to see probably at least 4, maybe. I'm not saying that's not going to be a rule, but they would be really. We want to get guys up to that level, and the international game is a professional game.
Are these guys?
We don't have a professional league here at home.
Yep. These 4 guys, these theoretical 4 guys, are they guys who've come through the domestic system, or are they guys who in 2025 will still be in Ireland?
Well, that's just what I was trying to get onto there. Is that the international game is a professional game, so you need to be playing at that level, at professional level. We don't have a professional domestic league yet. Sometime in the future we may do, but we have to build up the numbers. But we have to look at pathways to getting these guys with potential, who've proven potential, to get professional contracts, be that the UK, Australia, or wherever, and then they have the wherewithal from the professional point of view, rather than training once or twice a week. You're training once or twice a day, and along with the skills acquisition as well, of course. So I would say that probably those 4 guys, or whatever they're going to be, would be guys playing somewhere in the world under professional contracts.
Can I ask you about the question of professional clubs in Ireland playing in the English competitions? Like, it's been mooted over the years. It was an early part of Super League, just the book I'm working on at the moment. 1996, they were saying we're going to get a team in Dublin, and there are clearly there are big population centres without full-time professional rugby union teams in Ireland. What are your thoughts on that? And do you see it as part of your role, or is that the role of entrepreneurs and businessmen to come up with these franchises, and it isn't anything to do with you? What are your thoughts?
I would see it as being more to do with us as regards the governing body than not. To get a professional team, they have to be affiliated with some organisation, and within Europe there is a governing organisation. So the quickest way for a professional grouping to get themselves accredited, I suppose, would be being with ourselves. I off the top of my head now, you hit me with this one, but off the top of my head, I would think that having such would be needs to be part of an overall strategy, and to fit in with that. If we've got, the ideal, of course, is to have a professional team. Dublin, or it could be Cork or Limerick, because you need to be near an airport. But Dublin is obviously probably has more advantages. It's got a big catchment area, and all the roads lead to Dublin, as you know, as kind of the old, as to say, about Rome. So it's pretty easy to get to from really anywhere on the island, and it's got the flight connections, that kind of stuff. The whether that team now could be maybe playing in Europe, or maybe not necessarily the UK. The UK would seem to be probably the championship or something like that, or the level beneath that. Obviously, we'd have to get ourselves up. But that's something that certainly could be done in partnership with somebody, because at the end of the day, this is going to cost money.
Mm.
Now, whatever competition that team would be competing in would be part of the sort of sponsoring or co-funding or something like that. Those are obviously different business models that are possible. The preferred route for me anyway is that we develop this ourselves as being part of our strategy, and having everything going in to that point.
There is a Irish team in the proposed Euro 13s, isn't there? So is that cool with Rugby League Ireland, or is that because obviously there are different models? Like in I don't think the Toronto Wolfpack had much of a relationship with the Canada Rugby League at all. Some of the expansion teams don't really get on that well with the local governing body. The Brisbane Broncos and the Queensland Rugby League hated each other. So yeah. What about the Euro 13s? What are your thoughts on that?
A European competition is obviously an attractive one. It's a kind of attractive one to sell as well domestically here, because people like to see. Locally here, I live in Galway, so anytime Connacht are playing Toulouse, for instance, the crowds go up. It's a French side, so let's see. Okay, the Munster games are always the big games as well, and Leinster or whatever. But on the other side of that coin, though, is the expense. And I know pretty much off the top of my head, and other people have told me that for that kind of competition, you're talking about a million euros probably a year to partake of that. Now they obviously to be able to generate that kind of revenue, it's going to be a challenge. Obviously the travel will be huge aspect of that. You mentioned the Toronto there, and not having much to do with the Canadian rugby league. The Toronto were very much a commercial enterprise, and I think if things are just purely a commercial enterprise as regards sport, it lives or dies by its profit. Whereas if something's from your national sport as such, you can get other sponsorship from government agencies, sports agencies, those kind of stuff, and you're not, how would I put it, the metrics of success are not profit. They're more inclusion, attracting more members, those kind of things. Yeah, profit obviously would be good, and being able to make it self-sustainable. But I just tend on a personal basis, I tend to not be that attracted to sports teams that are purely just a commercial enterprise. And I know sometimes to get into the big league, or to create a big league like NFL in the US, those are companies that their product happens to be people playing a game on the pitch. Here in Ireland, and certainly for rugby league, for the foreseeable future, for the horizon that I can see at the moment, is that we need to build up players here. We're obviously a really minority sport, and we have, apart from the other countries that have got difficulty getting rugby league up, we've got Gaelic football and hurling, like number 1 and number 2, and then you've soccer, and then you've got rugby union stuff. So even field hockey has got more than we have. So we've a way to go. It's good to have dreams. It's good to have ambitions, but we need to get our stepping stones correct as well. You could have a commercial enterprise that I don't know how much would they be reinvesting into an under 14s, an under 16s, and under 19s team to help develop up. There's not a lot of profit margin there. You're more, I would think, maybe buying in talent, selling talent, and that's maybe not the way. Personally, that's a personal note that I particularly would like to go.
Last question there, Jim. Thanks for your time. And by the way, if you're watching on YouTube, there's a subscribe button down there. The relationship with rugby union. What is it good? Is it bad? Is it indifferent? Are they nice to you? What's the situation there?
I would imagine that's from what I can see so far, it's very much on a localized basis. There's been no kind of official anything between me and the IRFU as yet, but I definitely would like to have a conversation with them at some stage, because I see great synergies. There are tremendous synergies as regards the sport itself. The direction that the union is going more in the direction of league. I think that not to be too simplistic about it, but when you're looking at the tackle height and that kind of stuff, the whole thing about offloading and those skill sets that are fundamental to rugby league are getting to be more important in union, and you can see that particularly in Australia, your home country. I mean, guys are pinging over and back between the two codes all the time, almost as if it's nothing, and each of those players, for each move, they improve. They're a better player, and I don't, and I'm certainly from an angle, I certainly don't see us being in competition. I would see it that there should be there is a natural synergy, and also time-wise, really being our league starts when their league finishes. So competition-wise and all that. Now, the only potential downside I could see, maybe union guys would say, well, we don't really want our players, playing 12 months of the year. I think maybe talk to your players as well. But what I see a role that league has is there's particularly from academies with union here, talents brought in, guys at 14, 15, 16, and almost like at 17, 18, 19, they're being kind of let go. And particularly guys of that later teens kind of age, they tend to be lost to rugby. It's whether it's just a case of I feel a failure, or I did my best and I've been rejected, or they don't particularly want to go back to their club with their tail between the legs. You're a reject from whatever. And I think it's just a terrible pity for a union that those guys don't go back to a union club. But there's a path to putting on a green jersey with league. So I would see, and my approaches with union would be to that end, that we can help them and they can help us. I think we can work together. Certainly locally, I know with the Galwegians here and Corinthians, there hasn't been any kind of issue as regards any of their players playing with the tribesmen here in Galway. I haven't been in the job long enough to know if there's any kind of issues in the provinces. But certainly that's where my angle. That's where I'm coming from.
Well, we know I was really surprised when I first went to Ireland to see a beer called Galway Hooker, and so it had many meanings to me, but none of them was beer. So maybe you can get them as a sponsor. Thanks very much for your time, Jim. Really great to speak to you. And if people want to find out about Rugby League Ireland,
thank you.
Are there places people can go to kind of find out more about Rugby League Ireland?
Yeah, we're actually one of the first things we set in place. We've got a full team of 5, actually 6 guys in a new grouping committee as such. Whereas they're basically doing media, but they're marketing and communications. So they've been since about the first week in January, been working on a new website, which we hope to launch within probably 10 to 14 days. Okay. So the current website has had his issues. Has been quite a clunky thing, very difficult to update. The new one will be a lot more zesty and stuff, and we will have how to join a club, which clubs are available, all those good things, including our history and past games and all those kind of good things. So watch this space, but rli.ie.
Thanks, Jim. I really appreciate your time, and good luck with everything you're doing, and stay in touch.